Welcome to Enjoy English.
I'm Anthony.
And today we have our unit of clothes. Our topic today is hungry plus anger can equal hangry. So when someone is hungry, nothing is nice because, well, they don't feel good, right?
Right, 没有错。我们今天的主题呢，就是介绍一个特殊的字，叫做 hangry。你看到这个英文的标题是 hungry plus anger， 所以是饿加上什么啊？生气 equal hangry， 饿到好生气啊！不晓得各位有没有这种饿到觉得好像看什么事都不顺眼的情况？我们的这个 subtitle 上面就写说 ，When someone is hungry.Nothing is nice. 饿肚子的时候呢，看什么都觉得讨厌、碍眼这种感觉。
I felt that way before. I don't know if you have too.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah. So let's take a break and then get right into it.
Hungry plus anger can equal hangry. You haven't eaten in a few hours and can feel your stomach rumbling.And then someone says something that bothers you. Rather than replying to them normally, you suddenly lose your temper and snap at them. This is most likely a combination of hunger and anger, which leads you to be hangry. Hunger alone cannot make us hangry. Instead, there needs to be a negative situation to put us in a bad mood that releases the hanger.This could be something as simple as a waiter keeping you waiting too long at a restaurant, or it could be something as serious as adding sugar to a soup instead of salt. As soon as one of these things happens, we become upset and get hangry. Is it a real emotion, or is it just in our heads? Scientists in California studied hanger and found that it's real.Because hunger makes us a little stressed to begin with. If something sets us off, then we put all the blame on that thing, even though it was hunger that got us upset in the first place. So, how do we deal with hanger? Take a hangry couple who is fighting before dinner, for example. Once they finally get to eat, they become less mad at each other.Because they have the satisfying feeling of being full. So, the next time you're feeling hangry, have a bite to eat. You just may feel better.
Okay, let's start with our first paragraph. So our first sentence is, you haven't eaten in a few hours and can feel your stomach rumbling.And then someone says something that bothers you. So if something bothers you, it kind of irritates you or like it makes you uncomfortable or just not happy in some way.
没错，老师刚刚提到一个非常重要的字叫做 irritate， 它的拼法是 irritate。Irritate 就是指让人不高兴、让人不开心、让人觉得很烦那种感觉。所以这个地方呢，它这句话就讲说 You haven't eaten in a few hours. 你有好几个小时没有吃东西了。Can feel your stomach rumbling.Rumbling 的意思呢，就是它就发出那种轰隆轰隆的声音。火车轰隆轰隆的声音也用 rumbling 这个字来表达。肚子轰隆轰隆的在叫。And then someone says something that bothers you. 老师刚刚就介绍 bother 的意思就是指 irritate 的意思嘛，对不对？然后有人呢突然让你有点不开心了，这个地方后面就我们很期待会发生什么事情，对吗
？Rather than replying to them normally, you suddenly blank.And snap at them. So we'll get to the blank in a little bit. But normally, replying to them normally in this case would just be like a normal, right? You just a normal response, the answer to their question, right? But sometimes if you snap at somebody, that means like you said something kind of mean or maybe hurtful, right? You were a little bit, because you're irritated or angry, you snap at somebody.
没错。所以在这边的话，老师刚刚提到说 rather than replying to them normally, replying to them 就是回复，用一般的方式回复他们就是 replying to them normally。老师刚刚还有提到一个非常重要的字叫做 response。response 呢就是回答回应的这个名词它的拼法是 RESPONSE response 回答回应，然后 you suddenly blank and snap at them. Snap 这个字的意思就是突然对他开始咆哮，可能是 对骂或是很厉声的说话，这种情况的话，都可以用 snap 这个字来表达。所以我们来看一看老师给我们解释一下这个空格的部分，我们有哪些选项。
So we have 4 different choices, right? We have A, watch your back, B, take your time, C, lose your temper, and D, catch your breath. So a lot of these are kind of just different phrases, and I guess we'll go over them really briefly. With A, watch your back, it's not literally like your back, but it is kind of similar, just like where you're kind of careful, like what's going on, right? You have to be careful, like who might be doing something to you or things like that. So that's watch your back. B, take your time, is just to slowly do something, right? You're not in a hurry. C, lose your temper, is when you not literally lose it, but it's kind of like that where you get angry, right? You're not happy, you're not calm. And D, catch your breath, is when you're like, I need to like take a moment to catch my breath. So these are our choices, and maybe we should go over them and then we'll reveal the answer.
OK， 所以基本上呢，A 的选项呢，就是 watch your back， 老师刚刚有解释过，感觉上有点瞻前顾后，害怕有人会袭击你啊那种感觉，好，特别小心环境的状态。那 B 选项呢 ，take your time， 就是你慢慢来，什么事情都按照自己的步调跟节奏。C lose your temper， 就是突然之间好像get angry， 很生气的感觉。那 D 这个选项 catch your breath， 就好像你在跑步啊 ，wait a minute，I need to catch my breath， 我希望能够让我的那个呼吸缓一缓，能够静下来一下，哈，喘口气这样的感觉。所以这4个选项是这个样子的。
And our answer for this blank, the one that makes sense, is C, lose your temper. Because if we look at the sentence, rather than replying to them normally, you suddenly lose your temper and snap at them. Because again, snapping at somebody is usually when you're like kind of say something mean or some hurtful. And if you lose your temper, right, you get angry, that's when you would do that, right?
没错，所以这个地方我们答案就选 C, lose your temper. 好，在整句话里面讲说，你与其呢是个正常的回复他们，突然之间 you suddenly 就爆气了 ，OK, boom, lose your temper and snap at them 就突然对他们爆气。
This is most likely a combination of hunger and anger, which leads you to be hangry. So it's kind of putting the 2 words into one word, anger, hunger, hangry.
Yeah, 没错。好，在这里的话呢，他最后就要告诉你说 ，This is most likely a combination of A and B， 就是把2个东西结合在一起的感觉哦。所以在这边的话，后面我们看看，它是有 hunger and anger， 看起来都很像，对不对？然后 which leads you to be hangry， 所以这个地方就把 anger 的这个 A 移到 hunger 这个地方换一下，就变成我们的 hangry 咯。意思就是我们这边讲的这种饿到好生气。
So let's catch our breath and then go on to paragraph 2. Okay, on to paragraph 2. So our second paragraph starts with, hunger alone cannot make us hangry. So alone, right, it just means only hungry, not like a lonely hungry, but just alone, like hunger by itself cannot make us hangry.
我们来看第2段的第一句话哦。Antony Alice 老师解得非常非常清楚哦，解释很清楚说 hunger alone， 这个 alone 就是 only 的意思，所以这个地方他讲说，光是饥饿呢 cannot make us hangry， 不会让我们生气。
Instead, there needs to be a negative situation to put us in a bad mood that blank the hanger. So if you're in a bad mood, right, it means you're like not happy, right? You're upset or angry or sad. It's in a bad mood.
OK， 我们来看第2句话，说了 instead， 然后而是怎么样呢？There needs to be a negative situation to put us in a bad mood。好，先看到一下 negative 这个字，它的意思就是指非常非常负面的，让人不开心的事情。To put us in a bad mood that 什么 blank the hanger， 就是指那种不开心、饿到生气的这种，它的名词形态就是 hangry 的名词 hanger。
So let's look at the answers that we have. We have A, releases, B, survives, C, offers, and D, announces. And the answer that makes the most sense here would be releases, because look at the sentence again. Instead, there needs to be a negative situation to put us in a bad mood that releases the hanger. So if you release something that you're letting it go, right? You're letting it free.
没错，在这边的话要释放出那种内在积压已久的怒气，所以这种情况下的话，你会用 releases， 在这个地方就是 that releases the hanger， 就是指会把你内在的怒气，因为饿而感到的怒气释放出来，所以答案我们要选 A releases。
This could be something as simple as a waiter keeping you waiting too long at a restaurant. So the waiter is the same thing as a server, somebody who gives you your food. And if you wait too long, you get hungrier and hungrier, kind of angry, right?
Yeah, 没错。没错，所以这句话呢，你看到他说 This could be something as simple as a waiter keeping you waiting too long at a restaurant. 他说这个事情可以让你开始不开心的一个 negative situation， 可以简单到什么情况呢？就是在这个餐厅里面，可能服务员让你等太久了，你等到说拜托还要不要送餐啊？那种感觉就开始生气了。
Next we have or it could be something as serious as adding sugar to a soup instead of salt, which sounds horrible.
Yeah.
Like a sweet soup. I guess, I don't know if I would yell at anyone, but I'd get a little hangry, right?
没有错哦，觉得送餐来慢就算了，居然一吃怎么是甜的，气死！所以这边他说 It could be something as serious， 相对于前一句话的 simple，这边的话是用 serious 的方式，就是说也许可能是严重到说你送来的这个汤居然怎么样 as adding sugar to a soup。好，居然该加盐巴的，居然加了糖 instead of salt 就是盐巴的意思，所以该加盐巴没加了糖，到后来你一吃味道不对，更生气。
Blank, one of these things happens, we become upset and get hangry. So again, right, upset, hangry, they're like very similar, except hangry is when you're upset about being hungry, right?
Right, 没有错。好，在这边的话呢，我们看到了这句话说 blank, one of these things happens. 好，什么东西，好，这些事情其中之一发生了 we become upset, 我们就觉得很生气 and get hangry, 就是又饿又气。
So let's look at our answer choices. We have A, ever since, B, as far as, C, even if, and D, as soon as. And the answer that makes the most sense here is D, as soon as, because if we put it in the sentence, it says, as soon as one of these things happens, we become upset and get hangry. So as soon as is kind of like once or like just like right as it happens, then we become upset.
没错，所以说有一种一怎么样就怎么样的感觉。老师刚刚还介绍的 once something happens， 这个 once 的拼法是 O-N-C-E once， 好，也可以用这边的 as soon as， 就是整句话就是一旦 one of these things happen， 这上述这些事情有一样发生了 we become upset and get hangry， 就出现这种又饿又气的情况。所以这题答案我们的话选最后一个选项 as soon as。
So let's pause and then go to paragraph 3. All right, on to paragraph 3. So our first sentence is it a real emotion or is it in our heads or just in our heads, right? So if something's in your head, that means it's in your mind, right? Like not literally in your head, but just like you're thinking about it. So is it real or are you just imagining it?
Yeah, 所以在这边的话，第三段的地方一开头他讲说 Is it a real emotion? 这是我们真实的情绪吗？Or is it just in our heads? 老师刚刚解释了 in our heads 意思是不是来自于我们的想象 Are we imagining it? 好，就是到底是我们想象出来的，还是真的会有这样子的生理的反应呢？于是他就后面就告诉你了。
Scientists in California studied hunger and found that it's real because hunger makes us a little stressed to begin with. So if you are stressed, right, that's when you feel like a lot of pressure, right? Either it's like could be homework or school or work or whatever, things can stress you out.
所以老师刚刚提到 stress 这个字 stress 这个字的话，在这边的话，它是用一个 ed 来表示一个形容词的感觉。当然也可以像老师刚刚所讲到 stress you out. If something stress you out, 好，意思就是指说，这个事情让你压力很大。好，所以这边的话，你要特别注意一下。他说这句话整句话想说 ，Scientists in California 在加州的这些科学家呢 studied hunger and found that 他们就研究这种又饿又气的情况，然后呢，他说发现到说 it's real because hunger makes us a little stressed， 好像我们觉得有一点点压力。To begin with 是首先他们会觉得，因为身体饿，会给我们一种压力。
If something sets us off, then we put all the blank on that thing, even though it was hunger that got us upset in the first place. So the beginning part where it says something sets us off, if something sets you off, that means it kind of like makes you mad, right? It's the thing that like causes whatever you to feel angry, sad, whatever, like it sets you off.
没错，所以这边的话，前面的部分老师刚刚解释到说 ，if something sets us off， 意思就是如果让我们的这个心理状态出现了什么症状，引发了什么事情。其实我看到这个 set somebody off 或 set something off 的话，会让我想到的是 an alarm。or a bomb， 好，感觉像是引发了，一经过咚啊咚啊咚啊就开始响，或者是今天这个炸弹一触碰就嘣就爆炸，所以有个东西触发了你的情绪，是这样的意思。
So let's look at what we could use for that blank. So our answers are progress, A, B is blame, C is support, and D is favor. So the one that makes sense in this sentence is B, blame. Let's try it in the sentence. It says, if something sets us off, then we put all the blame on that thing, even though it was hunger that got us upset in the first place. So if you put the blame on something, right, that means that you think that that's its fault, right? That you think it's okay because of this thing, that's why I feel this way, or that's why this happened.
没错，所以这边的话呢 ，Alice 老师讲到了 blame 这个字的话，就是一个你的目标对象都是这件事情。造成了现在的结果，所以这个地方讲说 ，then we put all the blame on that thing， 我们就把所有的这个归咎在这件事情上面。然后呢 ，even though， 即便it was hunger that， 这个地方请你要把这个 it was 跟 that 先把它画起来，这是一个强调的句型，就是基本上是强调这个 it was that 中间的东西是 hunger， 是你的饥饿。Got us upset in the first place， 是你的饥饿导致你现在这种烦躁的状况，但是你不会怪你的饥饿，你会把这个事情怪在那个惹你生气的那个触发事件上面。
So how do we deal with hunger? Well, that's kind of up to each person, I guess, right? If you deal with something, you try to how do you fix the problem, or how do you handle the problem?
Yeah， 所以接下来就问你说 ，So how do we deal with hunger？到底碰到这种又饿又气的情况，我们该怎么处理呢？刚刚 Alice 老师说，应该每个人的方法都不太一样吧。
Next we have take a hangry couple who is fighting before dinner, for example. So a couple in this case is usually people who are in a relationship together, and if they're a hangry couple, I guess they're both hungry and angry.
没错，在那边就举了一个例子这个 couple 的话没有问题，就是可能一对情侣，对不对？可能两个人都很饿，他就说 take the hangry couple who is fighting before dinner, for example. 我们就举一个例子一对情侣他们在吃饭之前呢，他们可能彼此都有点生气，可能快吵起来了。
Next we have once they finally get to eat, they become less blank at each other because they have the satisfying feeling of being full. So a satisfying feeling is kind of like the feeling of being full. It's like you feel happy, content, right? Like at peace. It's very satisfying.
没错，所以在这边的话，老师刚刚用到另外一个字 content。content 就是觉得很满足的意思，它的拼法是 content。content 好，比方说 be content with something 就是指对什么东西感到很满意的那种感觉。所以你看这句话他提到说 once they finally get to eat， 一旦他们真的可以吃到东西了 they become less blank at each other， 好，他们就对彼此比较不会那么怎么样了。Because they have the satisfying feeling of being full， 因为他们感觉到有饱足感了，就比较不会怎么样。来，我们来看看选项吧。
So our answer choices are A, powerful, B, confident, C, selfish, and D, mad. So the answer that's best here is mad, D. Look at the sentence again. Once they finally get to eat, they become less mad at each other because they have the satisfying feeling of being full. And if you are satisfied, right, then you wouldn't be so angry or mad, right? Mad, angry, same thing.
Yeah, 没错。所以在这边的话，当然答案要选 D, mad， 好，就比较不会那么的生气了。
And next sentence we have is, so, the next time you're feeling hangry, have a bite to eat. You just may feel better, which I agree, right? If you are hungry and angry, right, one solution is to eat something and then you feel a little better.
没错，最后他告诉你结论咯。So the next time you are feeling hangry， 下次你又感到又饿又点生气的时候，情绪快上来了，他就告诉你 have a bite to eat 啊，稍微吃点东西。You just may feel better， 说不定就会好过多咯。
And it's kind of funny because, yeah, if you think like hungry and angry, all right, maybe you eat something, at least you get rid of the hungry. Maybe you're still angry.
Yeah， 吃到不好吃的东西。
But at least you're not as angry because at least you're not hungry anymore, right?
Yeah， 两个因素至少排除掉一个，或许会好过一点。我觉得是合理。That makes sense.
Yeah, so let's take a break and then talk about vocabulary. Okay, let's talk about our vocabulary words. So our first word we have is bother. And we said earlier, bother is kind of the same thing as irritate, right? Or just kind of like something that makes you mad or sad, kind of like it changes your mood in some way.
没错，所以第一个单词呢就是 bother， 这边当动词使用的话，就是让人家烦躁或是打扰到别人，都可以用 bother 这个字来表达。
Next, we have in a bad mood. So if you're in a bad mood, right, it's going to be negative, right? It could be either sad or angry, all these things that are like considered negative moods.
我们有提到 negative 这个字，对不对？在这边的话 in a bad mood 就是心情不好，觉得说什么事都不开心，这种情况你可以说 I'm not in a good mood, I'm in a bad mood.
Next, we have stressed, right? If you feel, again, we said like feeling stressed, right? If you feel stressed, that means that something is like making you feel a lot of pressure or anxiety, right? You're feeling stressed or stressed out, you can also say.
没错，第三个字呢就是 stressed， 这边有加 ed 的话，多半呢是形容词的用法 feel stressed 就是感到有压力。老师刚刚有提到另外一个字 anxiety， 好 anxiety 就是焦虑的意思，它的拼法是 anxiety anxiety 焦虑。
And then finally, we have satisfying, right? If you like eat a nice big meal, you feel it's very satisfying. You're content.
没错，第四个单词呢就是 satisfying。这个 satisfy 本身就是满足嘛，所以说今天什么东西 is satisfying 就是令人满足的感觉。如果说今天你要讲到自己的情绪的话，你会说 I feel satisfied。记得要用 VPP 的形态来表达自己的感受哦。
And that's all the time we have today. So we'll see you all next time.
Bye bye.